Okay, so today we're going to learn to use DrJava's debugging mode to help us figure out how to fix our program. So we're going to start by looking at the flowchart for a simple program that we want to write. What we want to do is we want to make a small program to count from 1 to 5. So if we look at our flowchart, we're going to start here. We're going to set our counter to 1. We're going to check if our counter is less than 5. If it is, then we're going to print the counter. We're going to sleep for a second. Then we're going to update the counter by adding 1 to it. And then we're going to check again. And it's going to keep looping through this until counter becomes bigger than 5. And then it's going to go to this branch where it becomes false. And then we're going to finish our program. Okay, so let's look at DrJava. So I've written some of the code out already. So we have here our while loop, and then we have our print statement, and then we sleep for 1000 milliseconds, which is equal to 1 second, and then we add 1 to our counter. So if I try to compile this, oh, we have an error. So first we read the error and it says reached end of file while parsing. So that means that it thinks it's reached the end before it's actually finished, before the code is actually finished being written. So usually what happens is that we need to fix a bracket in this case. So if I check here, it looks like this one has a matching bracket because you can see the whole section became highlighted in blue. This one also has a matching bracket. How about this one? This one does not. So that's what we need to do. So we add a bracket here and perfect, everything goes blue. Alright, so now we can try compiling again. Oh, so it says cannot find symbol. Symbol is the variable counter. So it looks like it can't find counter. It doesn't make sense to it. Now why is that? Well, let's check out our flowchart again. So we should have initialized counter, which is our variable, to 1. Have we done that in our program? No, we haven't done that in our program. So our program's just trying to use counter, but it has no idea where it starts or what it is. So to do that, we're going to make an integer variable. We're going to call it counter, and we're going to set it equal to 1 to start. Perfect. So we can save it, and then we can compile and try to run our code again. Okay, so it looks like our counter is working now, and it's going 1, 2, 3. Oh, it stopped at 4. So there must be something wrong with our logic. So let's figure it out. What we want to try now is how to use the debugger mode. With the debugger mode, you can stop your program at a certain line in your code and you can see what happens right before or right after, and you can step through your code one line at a time. So to do that, we'll come to here because this is where the interesting part in our code happens, where the decision is made. Go to debugger and we'll toggle a breakpoint on this line. So now we have a breakpoint at this. So once the program hits this, it'll stop and show us what's going on. So let's go to debugger and then we'll go to debug mode, and it gives us some extra screens. So with these extra screens, we can see more about our program and we can watch it. So here we have something called watches where we can put different variables here and we can see what's happening to them as the code moves along. So we're going to add a variable to our watch called counter. You can't see it very well, but it's there. I typed it out, and once you type it and hit enter, you'll see it. So far the program's not running, so the counter variable doesn't even exist yet, and there's this value says not found. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to run our program. So actually we'll compile first, and then we'll go to run. Okay, so here it says breakpoint hit in class myCounter on line 13. So we're here. The code has stopped, And we can see that counter actually has a value now. It's a value of 1. So if we have options here if we want to step into our code, if we want to step over, or we want to step out. So what we want to do is we want to step into our code. Let's see what happens inside this while loop. So once we step inside this while loop, it goes to the print statement. Inside the print statement, you can hit step into again. And now it says my counter is at 1. So it's printed that first line. Now it's waiting a second. Step into again. Now we're at our counter, adding 1 to our counter. Perfect. So now we're back to our decision and our while loop. So counter is at 2 now. So let's see what happens this time. So we step into, again we print. So we have my counter is at 2. Wait another second. And we increment counter again. So now we are at 3. So another option is if we don't want to see this over and over again, we can actually step over this and go to the next iteration, or the next time it hits this decision point. So we step over. Sorry, we want to step out. So once we step out, we get back to this line again. So when we get to this line, counter is at 4 now. So let's step out one more time. Counter is at 5. So what happens here? So if I step into here, oh, it skipped our printing statement. And why is that? Because when counter is 5, it's no longer less than 5. So what we need to have is an equal sign here. If counter is less than or equal to 5, then we print. Otherwise, we leave the decision tree, the while loop. Okay, so now we know what we're doing, and we can let the code finish, and we're done. So we can exit debug mode. We can go here. We can clear all our breakpoints, and we'll put equals 5 here. Save, compile, and run. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. So now our code is working as planned. So we can also go back to our flowchart and we can make an update here as well. So now we'll know for next time, and we'll know how we changed our design.